everyone, and welcome to another WMSE Local Live broadcasting tonight from Anodyne on Bruce and Walker's Point.
You didn't even have to tell the audience to give themselves a round of applause. They already did it.
Exactly. Local Live is sponsored by Outpost Co-op. We believe good food brings us together. Shout out to our in-house audience. Give yourselves a hand.
We have a packed house here tonight. They braved all of the rain, all the awful rain we got right now. And we're really happy to have so many people here to enjoy the music of Greg Koch. Tonight's show is being live streamed. You can watch along at WMSE.org. As well as on our Facebook page and on YouTube. Tonight's special guest, local and national blues legend.
Legend!
Greg has been a friend of WMSE's for a very long time, and we are super excited to have him here with us today. So without any further ado, Greg Koch.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, folks. We're going to get warmed up here with a few little instrumental tunes. This is a little song from our new blues release, a little thing called The Stumble or The Stumble, depending on what part of town you're from. That was almost exactly 15 minutes. Wow.
Holy wow. One more time. Give it up for Greg.
Thank you.
I'm looking over Sid's shoulder here. She's texting everyone she knows, saying how much she's enjoying this right now.
I am like, are you watching this right now? Oh my God. If you're not in this room, you better be tuned in watching this because this is unbelievable. You've totally bringing us to church tonight, Greg. Wow. All right. Let's talk about your record Blues that just came out this past year.
Yes.
So I was listening to it earlier, and I had a couple of thoughts about it. I feel like you really wanted to tip your hat to a traditional blues album. You open it up, though, with a banger.
It's a banger.
You bring out the Memphis Horns. You bring out Larry McCray, and it opens up with this giant song. And not a lot of albums open up with their, because you did make a proper album. You weren't like, I'm just going to release a track, I'm going to make an EP.
Right.
You made a full album. You opened up with a full-on banger of a song. And then it goes into that very traditional blues.
Ish.
Blues-ish. I thought it was a very traditional blues record. Talk about it.
Well, you know, most of my stuff early on, when I was a youngin' back in the day, I had the band around here called Red Koch and the Tone Controls, for those of you who remember that. And, you know, we did bluesy stuff. We did, you know, it was always a combination of original stuff and some nods to our heroes, but we always thought that the idea was to shake it up, make your own little stew. Don't be, you know, another person just kind of doing the same old, same old. And so every time I've done blues songs of my own, I have a tendency to compose them in such a way where maybe they're not your traditional 12-bar blues songs having 3 chords and so on and so forth, because I thought my mission statement was to mix it up a little bit for the kids. And then when I got affiliated with my buddy Devin Allman, who's Greg Allman's son, who does the Allman Betts tours and so on and so forth, and I've been doing some stuff with them, and he's like, let's get your name out there a little bit more. I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. You know, I could always use another $10 or $15. And so he was like, well, why don't we do a reissue to get our feet wet and kind of get your name out to some people who may not have heard you. Why don't we do a release of some stuff that is from your back catalog? I said, well, my stuff's kind of all over the map. There's always the soft blues underbelly, but there's all kinds of chicken picking and funk and rock and a little bit of jazz in there for the kids. And so I thought, well, you know, a lot of times when we're out gigging, and we've been touring a ton with this lineup, people will come up to the merch table and they'll say, what's the bluesiest record you have? And I go, well, there's blues on all of it. So I thought, why not just give the people what they want, doggone it? So I went through the back catalog and picked out all of the, like, 12-bar blues songs that I had in the back catalog. And then Devin's like, well, do you have any stuff that you haven't released? And so the very first 2 tracks are songs that haven't been released that I had in the can. I think I recorded them when sometime during the great pandemo, when we were all sitting around trying to figure out what to do. And I thought, well, maybe it'd be a good idea to do a blues record. And so I had that song, Can't Lose Jake Never Had. Memphis Horns, and Jimmy Hall actually sings on that one and plays harp. And then I had another Muddy Waters tune called Can't Be Satisfied that Larry McCray and I did a little duet on. And so we've kind of thrown that record out there, and it's been doing well, but I got to tell you, when I was on that Rick Beato show, which is, you know, he's kind of the Don Kirshner meets Casey Kasem meets Howard Stern, if you will. Those are bad comparisons. He's really big. Anyway, and has this web show, and had me on there, and ever since then, man, the record was doing okay before then, but ever since I was on there, it's gone gangbusters. Which is good. Thank you.
Do you have a preference of how you like to play? I mean, you're the Koch Marshall Trio, you've played in super groups, you've played like as the side guy, you played lead guy. Do you have a preference of how you like to do your setups?
Well, this is my favorite of my lineups to date. I get kind of 3 for the price of 1 with this guy. You know, he plays bass with his left hand, he plays organ, he sings, he's handy.
And you get to play with your son.
And of course my son, Dylan back there on the drums. You know, people say, well, how do you get a drummer that good? And I said, well, you got to make him. But he came by it honestly, you know, he gravitated, I mean, sure, he was listening to a bunch of my stuff around the house and stuff I like to listen to, but he gravitated towards all the right stuff, and actually he was doing gigs with Toby up in Minneapolis, and he would always come home and he's like, Dad, you gotta hear this organ player. And I'm like, well, that's Minneapolis, 5 hours away. It's kind of, I don't know when we're gonna hook up or whatever. And then Toby came down and visited, and we ended up playing together. And the very first tune we ever played together was being recorded, and that was released on our first record. It was instantaneous, you know, it was like immediate chemistry. And I've always loved the sound of a Hammond B3. I just like listening to him, so to be able to be up here and hear that glorious sound every night is kind of awesome. And plus he has, it's all the right chemistry in terms of, you know, it's an interesting thing to have the blues sensibility, to be able to play bona fide blues when need be, and have that history, which Toby definitely does, and Dylan does, because we've been doing stuff for years. But also to know about that funk, to get the real stinky, pungent funk. And also to be able to rock with the intensity of 1,000 Suns. There's a lot of people that don't know what that word means anymore, which is to just unleash the unbridled savage beast. Who knows what I'm talking about here? There was a time where, you know, 4 individuals with jeans and t-shirts could go in front of a stadium of 60,000 people and crush them with the power of rock. That's what we're bringing to the fore. And that's what we're trying to do. So this is my favorite unit to do that with. There's other glorious bands I've had and continue to play every now and again with, and but this is streamlined for export.
Dylan, question for you. How's it playing with your dad?
It's awesome.
Pressure?
No pressure. I mean, it's one of those things that you hear in the family room since you were a kid, so it's almost second nature. You know, there's not a lot of pressure. But, you know, it's just a very natural course of events. I mean, I'd listen to his records all the time. You know, when he'd get something mixed and mastered, he'd play it 50 times in the car, and then you just know the tunes, and you're 6 years old. And then, you know, 20 years later when you're doing a live stream, he's like, oh, you remember that one? He's like, yeah, I've been listening to it since I was in diapers. I do know that one. You know?
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I was kind of ready-made for the gig, you know? It just kind of worked out that way.
Fantastic, love it. So you have, this is a little bit of a different question, not related to this new group. You have signature guitars, and I don't think we've ever had somebody, at least I've never interviewed somebody on the show who has a signature guitar.
Yeah. Well,
Are you playing it right now?
I am. This is one of them. There's a company out of Toledo, Ohio. It used to be out of Detroit, but they're in Toledo now, called Reverend Guitars. And I've been buddies with them for a long time. And for years and years, I was affiliated with Fender Guitars. And they went through various different changes of leadership. And at one point, it's like, do I really have it left in me to try to schmooze the former CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond to get in the good graces of this guitar company that I've been representing on behalf of for 15 years? The answer was no. So I started doing some different pickups with a company called Fishman, and Reverend was amenable to using those pickups in guitars. So I always had this idea, because I'm 6'7", for those of you who are listening and not seeing. And every time I play a guitar, people are like, is that a ukulele? Is that a 3/4 size guitar? And I'm like, you know, don't judge me. So I decided that it'd be cool to have a guitar that was just slightly larger. Not so large that it would deter the Lilliputian or the more diminutive individual. But it fits in regular guitar kits. It's only about like 2.5% bigger around. So it just looks more proportionate. And all the little kind of geeky things that I wanted done as far as, you know, radius of neck and frets and all that kind of malarkey, they did, and it's been awesome. So we did this guitar, and I'll be grabbing a couple of the other ones as we go along, but I have 3 different signature guitars with them right now. And I also have this signature foot pedal. It's called the Koch Monster, ladies and gentlemen. And, I did not name it that. The people it's this great company from Greece called Jam Pedals, and they go, we got a name for it. I'm like, really? And they said Koch Monster Supreme. I was like, okay.
What does this pedal do?
It does everything. So it's got, I've got a little signature overdrive called the Gristle King, and that's in there. There, all the different little effects. You hear the echo and the things that maybe sound like an organ, and add a little bit of distortion, or I get really clean. All that stuff is coming from this thing. I said the amp's pretty well clean-ish, and then I kick it all down here with the mod. Beast at my disposal. And it's orange, my favorite color.
Is it getting hot in here?
I'm getting kind of hot.
He's just talking sexy to you.
Well, I think we're ready for your next set of music.
Okay.
You take it away there. All right. Another set of music with Red Koch here on 91.7 WMSE.
This is one of the tunes from that new record, Can't Lose What You Ain't Never Had. 2, 3. Had a sweet little girl, lost my baby boys, ain't that sad? Had a sweet little girl, lost my baby boys, ain't that sad? Can't spend what you ain't got, can't lose what you never had. No, you can't lose what you never had. Lose what you never had. That's some money in the bank. Got busted, ain't that sad? That's some money in the bank. Got busted, ain't that sad? Can't spend what you ain't got. Can't lose what you never had. No, you can't lose what you never had. Can't lose what you never had. Yeah, Tony Gibson. Had a funky little shack. Got burned down, ain't that sad? I had a funky little shack. Got burned down, ain't that sad? Can't stand what you got. Can't lose what you never had. No, you can't lose what you never had. Can't lose what you never had. Can't spend what you ain't got. All right. How about that Toby on the organ, ladies and gentlemen? Killing back there in those doggone drums. This is another Muddy Waters tune. Yeah, play a little slide Rooney on it. Toby's going to sing it for you. On the record, we have Malford Milligan singing, and actually on the rendition that we have on the CD version, which I happen to have for sale here this evening, we do a little version of Don't Change Horses in the Middle of the Stream, and our buddy Junior Brantley, of course, from town here is on that version as well. And Malford Milligan is singing it, and we'd like to do it for you. I'm going to plug this rascal in, and away we'll go. Brand new guitar here. We're going to give it to some beautiful faces. forgot how to end that one.
So what kept these songs from being released on previous records? You were saying that they didn't quite make it. Was there something that...
Well, just I hadn't found a place for those two bluesier tunes. They were just kind of in the can, as we say, and just hadn't found a thing that made sense to release them. So I liked them. I liked the takes and whatnot, the way they sounded. So it was kind of just a perfect happenstance. Like, now is the time to have the new ones amongst this older stuff, and it's new to everybody else. My favorite thing is, you know, I have a tendency to like dissonance. I am a dissonant. Anyway, but I do like to, you know, employ some strange harmonies here and there, because that's what you do when you've been playing a long time. You get bored with the same old, and I'm kind of twisted anyway. So I've always had different things that I've infused into my music, and for the average listener, it can be, shall we say, a strong flavor. So what this record allows individuals to do that they like simpler stuff, that they're like, oh, I like this, I can relate to this. I had one guy say in a comment that it's just so weird to hear you play normal music. Thanks, mutant. No, I didn't say that. I appreciate you, is what I said. But yeah, so this record allows people to kind of, and it's fun for me to play in a kind of a simpler context of just a straight blues, because then the more striking sounds are the more evident. You know what I mean? I can throw them in and be like, ooh, what was that? Did I like that? I think I did. You drag the listener along by the ear, and at first they're reluctant, but then they're glad they went on the journey. If they don't, get out. Wow, that's kind of strong.
What initially brought you to music and to blues specifically?
Well, I was, I roomed with my older brother, who is 14 years older than I. There were 5 girls in between us. I was the youngest, he was the oldest. So I grew up listening to, especially like Hendrix and Cream, and the James Gang, and you know, the Allman Brothers, and Stones, and Grand Funk Railroad, that live record from 1970. Are you kidding me? Woo! Are you ready? Sorry. Anyways, and of course the guitar player, I mean, Hendrix to me was just the king. I mean, I'd go over to another friend of mine from the neighborhood who had an older brother, and there were just Hendrix posters wall to wall. It was like, is anyone cooler than this individual? And so I was reading books when I was very, very young. I did a report on Jimi Hendrix when I was in 3rd grade, much to the chagrin of Mr. Steedner, my teacher, who was saying, you know, he was a drug addict. He died of a drug overdose. I said, now let's be clear. He died of barbiturate intoxication, which is the same thing that Marilyn Monroe died. Sure, did he like some weed, a little acid, a little blow every now and again? Sure, but it's not like he was doing needles. I was in 3rd grade. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of weird. But so I always wanted to play. My mom was a good piano player, and she taught me the boogie-woogie pattern when I was very young, so I had the blues progression in my skull at a very young age. So when I finally got a hold of the guitar, I was ready. While I was reading about Hendrix and Clapton and all these characters, I'd always see the same names, you know, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert King, Otis Rush, so on and so forth. So I did my deep dive pretty early on, like, you know, 11, 12 years old. I saw Muddy Waters at Summerfest, I think, when I was 14. And I remember that I was backstage because this gal that I went to grade school with, her dad worked for the beer company that was sponsoring the stage, so I got backstage. And I wanted to meet Muddy Waters, and he came in, I couldn't say anything to him, I was just gobsmacked. And he came in and he had, you know, 2 gorgeous young girls on each arm, and they both had these satin Muddy Waters tour jackets, and he just had this look on his face of complete contentment. And all I could do was go, I knew right then and there that that's exactly what I wanted. And didn't quite work out that way.
But Greg, can we get a little shout out to the Milwaukee blues scene of like Lee Gates?
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I did a gig with Lee Gates when I was 18 years old. He hired my whole band from high school to play at the Murray Tap.
What?
And so I
You
knew.
gotta tell that, like, please.
Yeah, well, I met him at a blues jam, and he came up to me and.
Wait, you were 18 or how? Wait,
Yeah,
show us.
17, 18. I was 18 because I was old enough to get into the Murray Tap. So, but he hired my whole band to play with him, and so I've known him since I was a wee lad. And then I was doing gigs with Junior Brantley around the same time. And yeah, Junior, man.
I don't want to get that history lost because I really believe that in Milwaukee there was this very, very vibrant. I mean, there is still a very vibrant blues scene in Milwaukee, But I feel like there was this time where you had the Lee Gates, the Stokes, and
Yeah.
that were the relatives of Hubert Sumlin. And
Right. Well, then Hubert Sumlin I met in town here as well. And yeah, my favorite Hubert Sumlin story is that I got to know him thanks to my buddy Jeff Dagenhart, who's another great Milwaukee institution guitar player extraordinary. And I was at we played at the first Eric Clapton Crossroads Festival down in Dallas, which was awesome. You know, we had a really good slot. It was great. And we shared this dressing room with, I had known Johnny Lang. So Johnny Lang was in there and Doyle Bramhall was in there. And John Mayer came walking in. I was like, as you do to anybody when you see him, you're like, hey, how's it going? He was too cool for school. I was like, what a douchebag. Anyway, so did I say that on the air? Excellent. So then I remember I walked out and I saw Jimmy Vaughn walking with like 2 security guards. And he sees me out of the corner of his eye. He breaks his stride and he goes, hey, Greg, how's it going? I'm like, what? And Brad, you'll enjoy this. It's because he had to approve the Hal Leonard, Stevie Ray Vaughan DVDs that I had done. And he loved them, bless him. So he broke a stride to come over and talk to me. I'm like, well, Jimmy Vaughn says hi to me, John Mayer. And then I'm walking a little bit more, and I see Hubert Sumlin, and he's surrounded by these press people, and they're asking him these questions, and he just has this look like this on his face, like, oh my God, really? And then he looks up, and him and I catch eyes, he just goes, and he waves. I'm like, Hubert Sumlin's not too cool for me, John Mayer. The moral of the story is, I won't say it.
I think the moral of the story is that, Greg, you are like this Milwaukee blues legend, and not just blues. Like, you carry on this tradition of being an amazing guitarist, but you carry on, I think, let's not carry on your shoulders, but carrying on this music and this amazing blues music that delves into the jazz, that delves into all sorts of type of music, but you carry on your shoulders maybe a little bit of this amazing music, and that you carry on the style and everything else, and we appreciate it. I guess that's what it comes down to. We appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you.
Being from Milwaukee and being this amazing legend.
I think we're going to get a little message from John Mayer's people a little bit later on.
And please play us some more music.
Okay. On the new record.
And tell us about the new music, our new record, and where you're touring next, and when you're playing next, and on how we can find out more of what you're doing.
Absolutely. So on my website, which is just gregkoch.com, that's the portal to all things. So where touring is on there. We get out quite a bit with this band. We're going to be touring out west here. Next week we go out and we play in the Phoenix area, and then we're up in the mountains and oh, that's right. Then we're in Colorado, and then we go through St. Louis, and we end up in Nashville, and then we'll be back home. But all those dates are on the website. We're going out with the Allman Betts Band this summer for about 10 days. And that's all going to be down south-ish. I think the closest we're getting here is Illinois somewhere. We were going to be in Milwaukee, but that didn't pan out. Anyway, but the new CDs I have available, there's more tunes on the CD than the vinyl, obviously, because the vinyl can only hold so much. I do have vinyl and CDs with me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I was going to say, this tune that we're about to play, this is an old Hendrix tune I've been doing forever, probably since the first band I was ever in. And we did a live record back in 1996 with the Tone Controls. It was called Double the Gristle. It was a half studio, half live record. There was a version of Red House on there, and we were glad to be able to include it in this selection, or in the record. And we're going to do it for you, and we'd like to give a shout out to our old battle compatriot, Kevin Allen, who unfortunately passed away a little bit earlier this year, but he was the bass player in the Tone Controls for that period of time. And so his musicality lives on in this particular rendition. So we're going to do a little song called Red House, which I like to call the Crimson Domicile. red house over yonder. Lord, that's where my baby stays. So red house over yonder. I said that's where my baby stays. Well, I ain't been home to see my baby. In about 99 and one half days. Wait a minute, something's wrong here. Lord, the key won't unlock this door. Wait a minute, something's wrong. I said the key won't unlock the door. Well, I got a bad feeling that my baby, she don't live here no more. So right, I still got my green guitar. Guess I might as well go way back over yonder. Way back across the hill. I guess I might as well go way back over yonder. the hill. Said my baby don't love me no more. I know good and well. I said, stir well. Thank you so much. We're going to unleash, for our last tune of the night, we're going to do a little song that is also on that new record that Malcolm Milligan sang, but we're going to have Toby sing it tonight. How about that, Toby Lee Marshall, on that organ and sound? It's a little old Temptation song that Delbert McClinton did, and we're doing it now. It's called Standing on That Shaky Ground.
Looking for the over. To pieces hurt, I feel all over.
much.
Thank you, Fred Koch. Thank you so much. Tonight, we have to do this. I think he's going to come out and play more after we close out the night on the radio. Tonight's edition of Local Live is broadcast and live streamed from Anodyne and Bruce and Walker's Point. Lively. Local Live is broadcast a production of 91.7 FM WMSE, audio and video engineering by Knieverland Productions. All graphics by Ear Truck Design. In-house sound by Tim McClutchy. Band hospitality by Transfer Pizza. Local Live is sponsored by Outpost Co-op. We believe good food brings us together.
You can find upcoming guests as well as our archives of past segments at WMSE.org. And tune in again next week at 6 p.m. on Tuesday for Cryptual. Next Anodyne show is April 8th, and we will have collections of colonies of bees. Thank you, Greg Koch. We're going to send it back now to WMSE Studios.